On today's show, the very latest with Alex Ovechkin and a potential knee injury. Next on this edition of Locked On Capitals.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals. I'm so glad you decided to join me today. As always, this podcast is free and available on all the major platforms, including the SiriusXM app and on YouTube. And I want to thank you for making this your first listen each and every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called The Capitals Minutecast, available wherever you find your podcasts. You can find me on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. And the best way that you can help grow the show is to subscribe to Locked On Capitals on YouTube and comment anything down below. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. The sports stop sporting like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about the news that Alex Ovechkin may be facing a knee injury. How serious is it? We'll talk about that. A little bit later, we'll talk about the net worth of the Great Eight. Listen, he's played hockey for a long time. How much is Ovi worth? We'll talk about that. And then in the final segment, we'll talk about his thoughts about what he wants to do after he hangs up the skates in retirement. But just to get it going here, that was the news that broke today, is that Alex Ovechkin wasn't going to be able to participate because he faced what is being said as a minor knee injury. Ovechkin has a minor knee injury preventing him from participating in a farewell match for Sergei Mazakin and this weekend, as reported by Match TV. So he is still taking part in hockey during these summer months, but he was not able to partake in it based on a knee injury. And a bit worrisome, I guess, when you hear minor. And what is one of the things that I've talked about on the show is that when you get injured, the older you get, those injuries, they don't heal as fast as they did when you are a younger person. So for Ovechkin to be facing, even a minor knee injury with the start of training camps here somewhat soon, it's not ideal. Listen, the Capitals got off to a slow start last season. Ovi got off to a slow start. To have Alex Ovechkin firing on all cylinders is optimal. So, to a certain extent, I know he likes to take part in these extra curricular activities, if you will, over in Russia. But at the end of the day, that is what's best for him and his future playing in the NHL. At the end of the day, that is still what's cutting his check. That there should be some loyalty there. And, I don't want to say that he shouldn't do anything like Ovi should get wrapped in bubble wrap for the summer. I'm just saying maybe take it back a little bit playing in these competitive tournaments, if you will. Ovechkin's injury and recovery. Ovechkin is contending with a minor knee injury, which prevented him from participating in a farewell match. Reports indicate that he is taking precautionary measures to fully recover before resuming intense training in 10 days' time. Listen, training camp is coming soon. And, there's a lot of questions. I know that BMAC went out and made some big acquisitions, but to have the biggest piece, the captain of your Capitals, in top form, that is important. Talking about his performance and all-star career so far, despite setbacks, Ovechkin showcased his skills in an all-star game, notching a goal and receiving a player of game accolades. Ovechkin expressed intentions to modify his training regimen, especially as he stands a mere 42 goals away from surpassing Wayne Gretzky's all-time record. And I hear that, and I wonder to myself, how does that manifest? How is he changing his training regimen? Maybe he has to take it back a little bit. Maybe he's not, tying the tire around his waist with a chain and running up the side of a hill. You got to think to a certain extent. I mean, I'm just speaking for myself here, and I'm older than him. I'm 47, but you don't get around quite as well as you used to. I'm not saying that he still doesn't have some giddy up in his step, but I'm saying that maybe things need to be modified a little bit. But with that slow start last year, he still needs to train because, there's still some questions for me, unanswered questions about why he got off to such a slow start last year. Talking about his focus on health and performance, Ovechkin's focus is on maintaining good health and consistent performance, aiming for a milestone 20th NHL season as Washington's training camp is slated to commence in September. Now, listen, we're not too far away from August here. And, August is going to go by pretty quick. And then it's on. Then we're back into hockey season, training camps, talking about line matchups, deep pairings, who's going to be in net, that kind of thing. All exciting things for sure. But you definitely don't want to go into the season with question marks about your captain. Is he going to be good to go? I don't want to get ahead of myself and say that he's not going to be able to, but it is worrisome. I guess just, based on what we've observed from him last season, is that when he did get dinged up, it took him a little bit longer to rally, to get back to 100%. And that's pretty normal. I mean, the guy is closing in on 40 years old here soon. You got to take it back a little bit. And talking about his diet, I know that he kind of does his own thing. Talking about that he likes to eat a lot of pasta. He has Coca-Cola in his water bottle. He doesn't really adhere to a lot of the things that some of the younger guys in the league do, where it's pretty much, boiled chicken and broccoli and just a really meager diet on a day-to-day basis. That I think that he feels that he's at this point of his career that maybe he doesn't need to do all that. But I'm here to tell you, Ovi, you have a couple years left to make the most of your opportunity in the NHL. As you get older and older, you're not going to be able to do the things that you once were able to do. You're going to see a dip in production the older he gets. And I understand that John Carlson and Tom Wilson said never to doubt the big man. And I'm not doubting him. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying matter-of-factly, it's not going to get any easier for you the older you get. So maybe pump the brakes a little bit on certain regards and maybe take it back a little bit when it comes to summer activities, taking part in extracurricular activities, if you will, because we need Alex Ovechkin engaged for the start of the season. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about that. Of course, keep it to Locked On Capitals, and I will have you guys updated with the status of that knee injury. Hopefully it doesn't turn into anything else, or maybe we won't know until September. I will have you guys covered the whole way nonetheless. All right, so coming up here after the break, what is the net worth of the Great Eight? Listen, he's played hockey for a long time. Is he upfront? Is he candid about it? I'll discuss straight ahead. I love sports. I love them so much, I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel, well, they let me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app, dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And listen, guys, there is still sports being played. Your Washington Nationals are still playing baseball. So I'll open up the FanDuel app, put a little bit of money on the game. All of a sudden, the games are that much more exciting. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all the shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you the can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team. It is every day. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So Alex Ovechkin's net worth, let's think about it. He's played hockey for a long time, and for a long time, he was one of the top paid NHL players. I know that contract is quite old, so there are players, of course, that have surpassed him, but he still is handsomely paid. He is not having to skimp on things. He is living his best life. You better believe it. But oftentimes, when people make money, a lot of money in his case, sometimes they don't like to talk about it. And I don't blame him. But Alex Ovechkin's career earnings and financial status, talking from this blogger, Amarin Saradov, according to Sport Track, Ovechkin's career earnings solely from his NHL contracts amount to $150.7 million. Think about that for a moment. How much better would your life be with 150.7 million? Despite this, he expressed uncertainty about his current financial status due to taxes. And and what are some of the things that we know? That the people that make the most money get taxed the most generally speaking. So even though he's making a boatload of money, of course, I don't know the tax structure, what he pays in the United States and over in Russia. I'm not sure how all that works, but suffices to say, there's probably a plenty of tax to go around that he's paying. But hey, a lot like the rest of us. Saradov inquired if he possessed over $100 million, to which Ovechkin responded, "No way. How could I? There are taxes. If I had over 100 million, I'd be kicking back and enjoying a beer right now." And is that true? I'm sure. And a lot of times in these cases, if you talk to people that are extremely wealthy, they can't tell you at a moment's notice, how much money do you have? Because for me or you, how much money do you have? Well, let's pull out your wallet. Let's see. I got 10, 20, 30, and I got about, 1,000 in the savings account. These people have assets in real estate. They own businesses. How much liquid capital do they have? Most of these people don't know from one moment to the next. So for him to say, I'm probably not worth 100 million, maybe he believes it. But I'm here to tell you, he probably is worth much more than 100 million, even from his NHL money. But as he should, has been a game changer for the Capitals for so many years. Talking about his future earnings and investments, that's how these guys make money. Of course, you make a lot of money in the NHL, but the wise ones, they take that money and invest it in things that have mid to low level risk and hope for a big return. Maybe some high risk things, just hope that you can get a bigger return. But in any event, I'm sure he has advisors telling him what to do with his money. Again, he is not hurting for money that much, I know for sure. Ovechkin is set to receive an additional $20 million over the remaining 2 years of the 5-year extension he signed with the Capitals in 2021. He also shared his intention to return to Russia post-retirement and disclosed his investments in real estate, owning properties in the U.S. and his native country in Russia. That's pretty common. I do know people that make far more money than I do. They do that. They own rental properties, houses, that kind of thing. That if you are in a position that you have extra funding, it's a good thing to do. Talking about endorsements and partnerships. So it's not enough that he makes 100+ million playing NHL hockey alone. Oh, there's more. Just to be in someone's shoes like that, wouldn't that be a lot of fun? So talking about those endorsements and partnerships, in addition to his NHL earnings, Ovechkin has secured substantial endorsements with globally recognized companies such as Nike, Coca-Cola, Fanatics, and others, along with partnerships with several Russian-based companies for various endorsements. All of a sudden, the mention of Coca-Cola in his water bottle maybe makes a little bit more sense. I'm not here to say that is the case, but if they're cutting you a check, maybe you can throw them a bone every now and then. And Nike, that all makes sense as he is a premier athlete, but a lot of money is to be made. Ovechkin confirmed that he invests in real estate, particularly in Russia. He mentioned owning an apartment in Miami, a house in Washington, and expressed interest in investing in Russia for personal and business purposes. And with the excessive cash flow comes expensive hobbies. Hobbies that most of us will never realize. Maybe there are some really wealthy listeners that are listening to this or watching this. And hey, give me a shout out if you're listening. I kind of want to know who's listening or watching this show. But in any event, expensive hobbies. Ovechkin has been known for his expensive hobbies, including collecting high-end sports cars. In the past, at one point, he owned a collection of 7 vehicles, encompassing prestigious brands such as Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Porsche. So, of course, this guy has the money to spend. And this is crazy money. This is crazy money that most of us will never understand. If I had 100 million, if I had whatever he's worth, you got to think that with that, you should spend. You should live a little bit. And I think he does that, as he has several properties around the United States and Russia, not to mention that car collection, that he is definitely living his best life. And you got to think, maybe to a certain extent, do you become a little bit jaded? Do you become a little bit numb to what money is worth, if you know what I'm talking about, and what is driving that engine of making that money? And I guess this is a bit of a callback to the first segment, is that don't ever forget where a lion's share of that money is coming from. It's coming from the NHL, and more specifically, it's coming from the Capitals. So do the right thing. Have a little bit of fun in the summer in Russia. Don't take up any risky sports. Don't get into skydiving. Don't do any of that. You can do all that once you hang up the skates and you're not getting paid by the Capitals. But that's my belief on it anyway, is that anytime I hear these players participating in extracurricular activities in the summer, whether it be tournaments, whether it being risky ATV accidents, we remember that historically, Ilya Samsonov, that, do the right thing. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Don't shoot the team in the foot by doing something that's going to jeopardize the success of the team. And, oftentimes people, I've talked about this before on the podcast, and people say, how dare you, Dan, kind of lay out these expectations? Listen, it's not like these guys are getting paid minimum wage. They are getting paid a lot of money for what they do, and getting paid a lot of money to get results for their team. The Capitals, they want to win another Stanley Cup within the next 2 years, right? That would be really nice. I know that it's out there. It's a Hail Mary pass. I get that, but I think that it's possible. I know it's not going to be possible for sure if you have key players out of the lineup. So don't forget what got you all that money. And just remember how important it is to this team that you're still going to be getting paid more money from this team. I know he's going to do the right thing. I know that I talked about in the previous segment that he's going to tone it back a little bit. Let's get fully engaged in practicing. You see Tom Wilson. I saw a picture of Tom Wilson and his wife and his kids absolutely look jacked. That is a guy that did not take any time off this summer. Hats off to those guys that take their healthy living. They're taking care of themselves throughout the summer. Sometimes these guys, you take a look at Kessel, for example, Mr. Hot Dog. Sometimes he comes into a season looking like, well, maybe he had a little bit more than he should have. So that's the thing that I'm trying to get at here, is don't forget what's cutting the check. Your elite level of play is what got you where you're at right now. And what we need from the Capitals is an engaged Alex Ovechkin. And don't get me wrong, he is worth the money that he's paid. He absolutely is. He has been clutch for this team for so many years. It's just do the right thing and more money will come. And who knows what the future holds for Alex Ovechkin. Maybe an extension with the Capitals, maybe a deal over in the KHL. Look out for the biggest business, the business of Alex Ovechkin. All right, so coming up here after the break, being that this is a very Ovechkin-centric show, let's keep with that theme and talk about his plans for the future. What does he plan on doing when he hangs up the skates? I'll discuss straight ahead. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day talking about something that I don't really want to talk about. And I think as Capitals fans, you probably don't want to talk about it either. It's something that's just, it's way out there. It's going to be a someday thing. It's really not that far away. Is Alex Ovechkin retiring? And what does he plan on doing? We'll talk about that here in a minute, but what will that mean for the team? We have seen moves around the organization, smaller moves. I know Pierre-Luc Dubois is rather large, and Andrew Mangiapane, Matt Roy, Duhaime, all these guys, pretty big moves. I do believe that after Alex Ovechkin hangs up the skates, that's when it's going to be a full go. We don't have to adhere to this. Alex Ovechkin needs to play on a competitive team, so we can't do anything too earth-shaking. The earth can be shook after he hangs up the skates, and how that manifests itself, I guess, remains to be seen. Will Leonard be on the team at that point? You got to think he's going to be on the team by that point. And how are the players like Andrew Crystal? How are they going to be? How is Tarek Parasek and these guys? How are these future players that we've heard about for so long? How are they going to play? Those are all things to ponder in Alex Ovechkin's retirement, I think, primarily. But what does the man, Alex Ovechkin himself, plan on doing after he hangs up the skates? And at the end of the day, what still drives his engine for wanting to keep playing hockey? It's about primarily Ovechkin's passion for hockey. Ovechkin expressed his enduring love for hockey and his determination to continue playing for as long as he finds joy in the sport. And this isn't the first time I've heard this from him, is that, I talked about money quite a bit in this show, that money's important, but to a certain extent, he's got enough money. He has to find joy in doing it. And I think that he honestly does. I think that he sees, he looks like a prideful father when he sees these young players that he's probably seen play at development camp and camps in the fall turn into legitimate players. Connor McMichael, Hendrix Lapierre, and to see them perform and to see the future captain, Tom Wilson, on the team. I think to a certain extent, when you get to the twilight of your career, you probably start to look and go, man, I'm pretty proud of this team and what it's done. And I still think he finds joy playing with a lot of his friends, John Carlson, TJ Oshie, Nick Backstrom, before Evgeny Kuznetsov. And still, with the chemistry that he's going to have with these new players, that I still think at the end of the day, despite how much money he's getting paid, he still really loves playing hockey. He openly shares his dislike for training, however, and preseason, yet his passion for the game evidently fuels his dedication. And, it's like studying for a test. No one likes studying for a test. You got to do it. It's what's going to prepare you for said test. And he doesn't like preseason. He doesn't like training for next season because, well, it's probably not a lot of fun. It's more fun to hang out with your friends, tip back a few beverages of your choice and have a good time. So I can relate to him on that level. But he has, somewhat recently here talked about his life after hockey. And I think, to a certain extent, you have to start thinking about these things as it's not as far out as it once was. I can tell you, being 47 myself, that, time flies and you don't really fully appreciate it till you get a little bit older. Things that, I'll reference something that seemed like a couple of years ago, and someone will say, Dan, that was 12 years ago or 10 years ago, that time flies. And for Alex Ovechkin, I think that is the case as well. Talking about his life after hockey, the hockey star discusses his plans to move back to Russia post-retirement, highlighting his desire to be close to his family and friends. Makes sense. He's got some kids, a wife. Why not be around a good support system in Russia? He also mentions his intentions to build a new house in Moscow, emphasizing his strong ties to his home country. Next, talking about future endeavors, Ovechkin touches on potential future roles, expressing his lack of interest in becoming the Minister of Sports in Russia. He acknowledges the inevitability of change and the need to find new ways to develop and grow post-retirement. And, a lot of these guys hit the ground running. You take a look at a lot of athletes, they get into broadcasting, some of them getting into coaching. I don't know if that is something that necessarily interests Alex Ovechkin on a professional level. Probably not. If I'm just, my knee-jerk reaction to it, I don't see him getting into coaching. Maybe if it was for his son when his son gets older, something of that nature. It'll be interesting to see what he plans on doing. He has a pretty good financial cushion, if you will. So I think that he's going to have the ability to not fret about it too much. And it's a unique position that a lot of these guys have. Generational money is what they refer to it. I don't think that Ovi, his wife, and either one of his kids have to ever worry about working ever again. That's generational money. It's something, again, that most people don't know what that means or understand, but it's the ability that you and your immediate family, if they don't want to, they would never have to work. So a unique position for Ovi and his family. And I wish him nothing but the best. After retirement, we know we have at least a couple more years with him on the team. We're hoping for bigger and better things. We want him to catch Gretzky. Don't get me wrong. I know that we like to song and dance and oh, it's not important. It's not. Listen, it's important. And it's important to Alex Ovechkin as well. He will dismiss it. He will deflect it. But at the end of the day, it's important. I think that he does want to win another cup with the Capitals, of course. But again, if he's scoring goals, the team's going to be doing well. If the team's doing well, that's what's going to give them their best shot at winning games. So a lot of excitement about this season. I'm already getting pretty amped up. I'm hoping that everything is okay with Alex Ovechkin. They said it's a minor injury, so everyone pump the brakes on your worry thing. Take the panic button and take the batteries out of it. You don't need it right now. That I think the Capitals will be in a good position. A lot of great additions made this offseason. I'm already getting pumped for the season. All right, a bit of a programming note. We are your team every day. It is a year-round podcast, as I talk about in this part of the show. But with a programming thing, this is something that's true with Locked On. With the NHL, the MLB, as there is for the NHL. What does it mean for Locked On Capitals is the next, I think it is 8 weeks. It'll be 3 shows a week. Unless something big happens, then we'll do another show. But once training camp happens, it is shows 5 days a week or more. It depends on the news that's covering this team. So that's the programming note, is that we are your team every day, a year-round podcast. It's just for the next 8 weeks or so. It's going to be 3 shows a week. I'm going to shoot for Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. It could change. This is the summer. This is the time to get in all the vacations before the kids go to school and all that kind of stuff. So that is the goal anyway, is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And that's going to be through the end of August. And I want to say through September 16th, something like that. So that is a bit of a programming note for Locked On Capitals. The shows is going to continue to talk about the Capitals all summer long. Even after all these other podcasts have hung it up long ago, after the Stanley Cup, we are still talking about your favorite hockey team year round. And I have you guys to thank for following me along all this summer. Listen, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, your team every day. And I'll talk to you again next time.